Social media, what does it mean to your practice? Now, I get asked this question more and more, so I thought I'd do a little micro seminar on it today. I happened to attend a live event just last week, actually, on the ethics of domain names, trademarks, websites. And it got into a pretty heady discussion on what you can and can't put on your website, and I ended up speaking with a really excellent lady that was basically like probably many of you at home, doesn't know the difference between LinkedIn and Yahoo and email and everything. So when it comes to marketing your practice or using social media, this woman had no idea where to begin. So let me just first start at the beginning. Twitter turned 5 just a couple weeks ago, and that's another reason for this post. So with Twitter turning 5, just a couple numbers. There are now 1 billion tweets sent a week, right? 1 billion tweets. On March 11th alone, there were 572,000 Twitter accounts created in one day. And that's just on Twitter. So in addition, you've got Facebook. Facebook has close to $100 billion valuation at this point in time. $100 billion. That's a lot of money. Now, I don't know if that's warranted, but it gives you a fair idea of how big and how powerful and what a player that Facebook is. It's been reported that nearly 1 in 4 web page views are on Facebook's website. 1 in 4. So that is a huge, massive amount. And then LinkedIn, that's another social networking professional site. You've got over 100 million members on LinkedIn alone. So Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, these are the larger social media sites, but there's also other content sharing sites like Vimeo, and there's a number of other sites, MySpace, obviously Facebook's the big social media. So what does this all mean for your legal practice? Basically there's 2 different things that you're going to use it for. One is evidence. Obviously, it's become a massive amount of evidence because so many people now live their lives online in our new Web 2.0 world. And then secondarily, you're going to use it for marketing and networking. But let's first start with the beginning, which is basically how has social media impacted the law. Now, obviously, one of the biggest things is going to be for the PI lawyers. Something lately that I've heard is called voyeur Google, which is voir dire, however you say that phrase. I've heard it pronounced a million different ways by a million different attorneys. But basically, they're calling that voyeur Google now because when plaintiff's attorneys or even defense attorneys come in and they're questioning potential jurors, the first thing they turn to is their iPad right there in court. They Google that juror, and the first thing you can find, is their religious views on Facebook. You can find, some tweets that they've sent out. So obviously, social media can be used as evidence to how a juror might weigh in on a different trial or different issues that are going to be presented in trial. Now, also that's been harnessed by the defense side. There was a prosecutor in Texas who was offering the Faustian exchange of free Wi-Fi if you friended his office. So if you're a juror sitting in the juror room, you can use the Wi-Fi, you have to friend his office, then that prosecutor can go in and take a look at your entire profile, not just a few pictures and a few friends you may have. They might be able to get right on in there and take a look at everything. And that's also been a major issue, is what you can and can't use. You can't trick people into becoming their friends. On a website like Facebook, you can only get a very limited profile if you are the general public. If you are that person's friend, you can gain access to all of their pictures, their different affiliations and much more information. So that's even been an issue, is, friending people. How do you friend people to get this information? Some people have done it by deceit. Courts have not liked that. They've thrown evidence out. Also in the personal injury realm, we've had attorneys that have gone on there on the defense side, found people that were making $1 million claims because they allegedly hurt their leg at work or, in their office, they couldn't sit in a chair. And lo and behold, on their Facebook page, there they are on their yacht on Sunday sailing around the harbor with no impediment whatsoever. But again, the issue later becomes, how do you get those into court? But that's for another time. I'm just trying to do some issue spotting of things you need to be aware of. Employment lawyers, that's also huge. More and more, increasingly in our Web 2.0 world, there is kind of no line between, business and personal. There was a fire chief who was just fired because he went on and put some on his blog and included some things about his pension that he didn't like, and he was fired by the city. So that raises major employment issues. It raises First Amendment issues, and that just happened. So that's something that's going to get decided. There was a case very recently, which hasn't come out yet, but that was National Labor Relations Board. Another employee was fired for posts that they made on Facebook about their boss. And there was a settlement there involved. I'm not sure exactly what that entailed, but again, you can see the issues that are being presented here. And then also on the divorce side of things, so you have PI, you've got employment, divorce lawyers. I think Facebook right now is the number 2 or number 3 cause of divorce in America. Because people are going on, you go into your wife's email, or you go on your wife's Facebook, and then you see that she's got pictures of some hot guy. Or there was a lady even in Oregon, I believe, who went on and found pictures of her husband's second wedding. So you can imagine that. Divorce lawyers, there's probably a ton of incriminating content that you can find on there. So those are obviously some of the main ways that this is going to influence your practice is finding this evidence, whether you're in PI, whether you're in employment, whether you're a divorce lawyer. Second, the networking and also marketing your firm. That's going to be huge as well. There's a number of law firms, different organizations and societies that do have Facebook pages. It's a great way to communicate with existing clients, potential clients. You've also got, Twitter accounts, but then that gets into different advertising and solicitations and things of that nature. But as long as you're not too egregious out there and you're literally just trying to connect with people, there should be no violation. And one of the biggest things that you're going to use social media for is networking with other colleagues in your profession. I've had the chance to meet a number of people that work in the CLE industry that I would have never met otherwise, because having a child and a wife, it's pretty tough for me to pick up and go to these different legal techs and these different law conventions around the country. But with social media, I've been able to meet people in Minnesota. I've been able to meet CLE directors in New York. I've been able to connect with professionals on the East Coast in Pennsylvania and possibly recruit them into our own organization. So this is a really great, useful tool for you in your practice, not just for finding evidence, but also for communicating with clients, whether it's on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. There's a whole wealth out there. Just make sure that you stay in line with your state's professional responsibility rules, whether that's on advertising or solicitation, or maybe your state may even have an ethics opinion or something a little more developed as far as the law goes. So again, my name is Jason Castillo, Director of Legal Education with Attorney Credits. This is just a really small CLE micro seminar on the law and the Web 2.0 world. Thank you very much.